incredibly busy all week. Adam, let's start with the #1 free agent on our board, Trey Hendrickson, the news that happened today.
He's got a 4-year deal worth up to $120 million with the Baltimore Ravens, who obviously, in the words of the Raiders, backed out of the deal, the trade that they had with the Las Vegas Raiders. So now Trey Hendrickson stays in the AFC North, where he'll be going up against his former quarterback teammate in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, twice a year as the Ravens look to build up their pass rush and hope that they get that from Trey Hendrickson at this point in time on that 4-year deal worth up to $120 million. And that came after they backed out of the deal with Max Crosby. Max Crosby and his wife flew to Baltimore, were there Tuesday, and they went through a situation where the Ravens had him go through a physical, and they just didn't feel comfortable in the end, seeking a variety of opinions. Now, a lot of people criticizing the Ravens, maybe that's fair, but the Ravens had access to the medical reports, and we know that Max Crosby's doctor, Neil Elitrosh, said that he had surgery 2 months ago, was on crutches for 7 weeks, was off crutches for just the last week, and the ideal time to take a physical would have been a little bit further down the line, not this week. Baltimore wasn't comfortable in lieu of the price and ultimately decided that it would not go through with the deal with the Las Vegas Raiders, which means that Crosby goes back to Las Vegas. He's in their building today. Nobody knows exactly what will happen to him just yet, but this is a setback for the Raiders franchise.
There's so many different angles to all of this, but Adam, you laid out a few things that I want to spend a little bit more time on. You talked about maybe even a week from now that Max Crosby could pass the physical that the Ravens did, definitely could pass other teams' physicals. Just some of this has to do with the timing of it based off of when the surgery was done. For clarification here, these players go to these new teams and they are then evaluated by those teams' doctors. So the Ravens doctors, very well-respected group, they're going to be doing these evaluations, doing their own imaging. What can you explain about Crosby's ability to pass a different team's physical going forward?
Well, I think there are teams that always can find a way to pass a player on a physical. It's all in the taste of the buyer. But in this particular case, with all that the Ravens were giving up, they were not comfortable with what the doctors said to them and with what the medical reports showed. Now, Max Crosby was in a situation where he battled through this knee injury all year long. Could have had surgery earlier in the year, opted to push it off until December, and that was a setback to his knee. And I think the Ravens doctors were a little bit concerned about that. Now, again, Neil Elitrosh says that Max Crosby is exactly where he should be, and they do expect that he should be ready for the start of the regular season, bringing him along slowly. It's a massive recovery that he's going through, but at this point in time, between the questions that they had about the meniscus, the bone, the cartilage, the Ravens did not feel comfortable moving forward when the price was as steep as it was.
Yeah, when you're talking about a couple first-round picks, it is. It's a massively steep price. And with all these things that have happened now, even if Max Crosby is on track and we expect him to be ready to play at the beginning of the season, how does this impact the price for Crosby if another trade partner comes into the picture here?
Well, again, Max Crosby back in the Raiders building today, and the Raiders already have gotten several calls from teams expressing an interest and a curiosity about acquiring Max Crosby in a trade, which doesn't mean they will. I think the Raiders are right back to where they were all along. They were open to listening, but wouldn't deal him unless they got the price that they were asking for, which the Baltimore Ravens ultimately agreed to give them before they decided not to. And so if there's a team that steps up and gives them the price they're seeking, yes, the Raiders probably would be open. But what is the price right now when Max Crosby is not fully healthy, when there are questions about that knee? The doctors say he's on track, he should be back, but there are a variety of opinions here about how that will now proceed. And so there's a path in which Max Crosby could be with the Raiders, and there's a path that we could see a trade, though we'd have no idea when that trade would be and what the compensation would be for, Laura.
Yeah, we'll continue to keep our eye on any news that develops with all of this. Thanks for all those details, Adam. And Dan, if you're the Raiders right now, even if you're Max Crosby, but specifically the Raiders, I mean, yeah, right? What a wild 24 hours or even more than that. What do you think they should do now?
I think the Raiders just have to take what they can get right now.
Yeah.
I think it's this situation where, am I willing to take 60 cents on the dollar Because we can live in the world where, okay, you're a Raider now, but what happens if the physical isn't what other teams want it to be a month from now, 2 months from now? What happens if he plays in September? Do you think the value is going to go up in comparison to what it is right now? And so I think if you're the Raiders, you got to sit there and say, we are where we are. And if a team is willing to give us 60 or 70 cents on the dollar in comparison to what we had from Baltimore, I think that's got to be something. Because you can live in the world where, no, his value will get back to where it was. No, it won't. His value could also drop a lot. His value could decrease a lot over the next 5 or 6, 7 months. And so I don't envy the situation that John Spytek, their general manager, is in, but I think you got to be willing to hear what other teams are willing to part with.
Where are we with the money, the financial situation of all this for the Raiders? Because some have wondered, well, shoot, they spent all this money in free agency, over $200 million. How are they even affording to keep Max Crosby? What does that picture look like?
So, Laura, luckily they had a ton of cap space, nearly $100 million going into this situation. So they spent a lot, nearly $300 million in contracts, but I'm told that they should be good there, that they can fit everybody under the cap and still bring Crosby back. The new league year starts in less than an hour. They should be compliant. So to your timeline, it's interesting because I don't think they can get 70 cents on the dollar right now. It might be 40 because teams are going to try to get as low as possible. I've talked to a few teams to see what they think is the best course of action. They feel like, hey, you can try to trade him now for whatever best offer you can get. You can maybe wait closer to the draft when teams get desperate, or even take it to the season. Maybe he plays and plays well and looks like the knee is no issue. You get closer to the trade deadline, maybe you can get more capital that way. So it's really 3 timelines they're working on.
Lewis, you think 40 cents on the dollar for a player like Max Crosby, if he is as healthy as we expect he will be based on some of the smartest medical minds, in the world here, is that decent enough from the Raiders standpoint?
I think it all depends on what the Raiders feel as though his future availability is going to be. And they have more information than anyone because they're the ones who have seen him get injured in the past, understand what his track record is, what he rehabs like, and really what the reasonable projection is as far as when he's going to be available again. So if you see the Raiders bring their price down, then there's 2 things at play. One, they may be concerned about, not just will Max come back. Obviously, he's going to come back. This is an injury that he can come back from. But then, how much longer is he going to be able to play on this knee? And I have no idea what the condition of the knee was. But obviously, it was such that Baltimore wasn't comfortable with it. And then, number 2, you got to look at it this way. John Spytek was figuring, that he was going to have 2 number 1s to really build out this football team into the future and really execute a hard reset. Does he still want that reset in some way, shape, or form? Does he still want some kind of, draft capital at his disposal that's going to come from Max Crosby? So I think we'll learn a lot about what they think about Max and how this has altered their build out for the presumed number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, here, I think, pretty soon.
I think the 2 most important things now, moving forward for the Raiders in this situation is, what do the Raiders feel comfortable that is going to be worthy for them to part with Max Crosby for? And then what are other teams comfortable giving up, even if they say, yeah, the physical is not ideal, but we believe the long term is going to be okay? I think because Shefty keeps saying the Ravens got to a point where the compensation was too high given the physical. Did they talk about maybe giving up 2 second-rounders or conditional? I think that's really the 2 sticking points in the situation now.
Yeah, and again, that physical will look different in time, right? So if this does stretch out a little bit toward the draft, like what Jeremy's saying, he could look a lot better at that point or a lot more comfortable for another partner. I think we have to go, Lou, but we're coming right back to it, okay? Hey, the Ravens don't have Crosby, but they do have Hendrickson. So let's compare the 2 players, right? Crosby is an every-down player. I mean, there's no doubt his commitment to being the best on the field when he's out there, logging nearly 900 more snaps than Hendrickson in the last 3 seasons and has been much better against the run. But Hendrickson has 7 more sacks in that time, so it might not be as much of a difference than you think. Dan, are the Ravens actually better off in some ways? I don't want to act like sour grapes here, but